Hello friends, and happy greetings from the New Club of Paris to all of you, both members and prospective members and the colleagues of mine in this conference. I'm sending you this greeting from France, from southern France, and I wanted to share with you some thoughts and ideas for this successful conference. I see from the program that you have a lot of very interesting and inspiring titles and topics to look into, and I just wanted to add to that some perspectives from the New Club of Paris and from my own work on national intellectual capital. I think we are living in very dynamic and challenging times right now regarding the so-called economics. So therefore, the New Club of Paris, with the aspiration of setting the agenda for the knowledge economy, is extremely timely, and this conference is as well. And we are working with, as you know, seminars like this, roundtables, and also the prototyping camp for societal innovation called AXI, like the one we had in Finland 2 weeks ago, as well as research on national intellectual capital. It could be called issues, it could be called issuing, and it could be called issualizing instead of only visualizing. So therefore, I wanted to share with you some 5 major bullet points. The first one is about ground your thinking. It is about the past, it is about the context, it is about the Danube region, but ground your thinking and look into what that really means. And I think the history of the region of Danube has a lot to contribute to the ecosystem of the future. The second point that I wanted to share with you is about the present. Look for the dependent as well as the independent variables of the knowledge economy. And as you have seen, we can look at the situation in Greece, we can look at the situation in Spain and some other countries around the world, and see that the traditional debt issue is coming up as a very, very serious issue. But perhaps there's a deeper dimension to it that we need to understand and look into to be able to set the agenda for the future. So therefore, look for the dependent and the independent variables in a new innovative way during these hours you have together in this conference. The third issue is, and the bullet point is, clarify, if possible, the unknown. And one of our former colleagues in Graz, she was working on the ignorance management. I think this is a very, very important topic. We could fly to the moon, and we could celebrate that we were flying to the moon in 1969. I hope 40 years down the road we can celebrate that we found and discovered the ignorance space for wealth creation and well-being of people in Europe in a new way. And therefore the fourth point, as a kind of a contribution, is to look into national intellectual capital of nations. And as you know, I have published together with Carol Lynn this book on national intellectual capital. You can find it on www.nic40.org. It is based on a database on Taiwan with 28 variables. Now we are adding to these variables, we are refining them together with Pirjo Ståhle in Finland and her colleagues, and we are also adding more nations, and therefore it is a challenge to look into a region like Danube, because it's crossing borders, and so far the statistics and the metrics we're working with are based on nations as statistical base, not challenging and interesting regions like, for example, Öresund region in the northern part of Europe, Danube region or the Pearl River Delta and some other cross-national borders. So therefore we have to ask questions, and we have started to develop a number of quizzes related to national intellectual capital. Some of the very simple ones is what's the position relative to other countries, what is the evolutionary path during the last 15 years, and what are the closest neighbors to make an alliance with for success, and what is the volume of your knowledge capital or intellectual capital, and what is the renewal dimension of the knowledge and intellectual capital of a region or a city, and what's the velocity of that renewal. So therefore there are a lot of questions that are coming out of this research, and right now it's going on in Finland, and we hope to share more with you at the end of this year and early next year, when Springer is starting to publish booklets on the subject. My fifth and final point is about the future agenda issues. And some of the future agenda issues are related to the grounding your thinking as well as the unknown. And therefore the issues that I think is very intriguing to look into is sustainability. Sustainability for the next generation. Like the story of Ragusa in Croatia, but also other nations. Another point on that is healthy citizens or quality of life, like the recent research is now starting to look for the metrics. But it's also about healthy economy. And what is a healthy economy? Is it only about economical indicators, or is it some kind of hybrid indicators between healthy citizens and healthy economics? And that takes us also to the organical dimension of renewal issues. Renewal issues for cities, regions and nations. For example, what is the new type of schooling? Like Professor Koch is talking about the multiversity, but that's on university level. Can we find a similar one on other levels in the spirit of, for example, Ragusa? And that also links to culture and art as a very important dimension, which we now know has a very, very good impact on the neurons and the thinking. And finally, what are the institutions we need to build for that? We know that we are living in an era of institutional failure, but what is an era of institutional success? And an era of institutional innovation. And that is very, very important structural capital for the human capital. And I know that Dr. Sladjana Cabrillo has been working on this agenda, and I do think that you have a very, very good team there during the conference hours to add to an innovation agenda for the future. So I wish you a happy future. Thank you very much.